Welcome everybody, and welcome to our webinar. All right. How's everybody doing today? Hopefully you're all able to join the webinar with no trouble. We're going to give everybody a few minutes just to get settled and get on the live stream. We've got some great content today, so I'm looking forward to unpacking this with all of you and getting your questions into the chat and starting to compile some of the ideas that you have, some of the challenges that you have. I'm going to give everybody a few minutes, probably wait till about 4:03 before we kick off. Where's everybody checking in from today? Anybody from outside of California, or are we all in Napa, all Napa natives, or do we have anybody traveling?
I'm not in Napa.
No, you're not in Napa. I'm not in Napa either.
I'm not in Napa.
All right, we've got someone from Idaho, Cleveland, Ohio,
Okay.
all the way out there. I'm in Tennessee myself. I was in Napa for a long time, but now I'm in southeastern Tennessee. Not in the really bad part of Tennessee. They got hit with the hurricane. I'm on the other side of the Smoky Mountains, on the side that didn't get all the damage, but nonetheless, out in the east, in the south.
I actually am joining you in the east. I'm actually in Michigan this week. So
Michigan. What are
yes.
Is Michigan one of your homes? Do you have a house in Michigan?
Yeah.
All right.
That's actually, we're moving back here permanently next year. So,
All
but
right.
Arizona regularly, Michigan next year.
Yeah. We bought a house in Tennessee with some property, and one of the driving forces is we got some family out here, so it's pretty, and we managed to get some acreage that we couldn't get in California. So
nice, very nice.
Great. All right. Well, I'll give it just another minute here. Looks like we've got people showing up. All right. Looks like we got about 12 on the call right now. I'm going to give it just a few more minutes. Give people a chance to get settled, and then we'll get into this. Where are you calling it from today, David?
I'm calling from Oregon.
Oregon. Love Oregon.
Winery up in Oregon.
One of the scariest driving experiences I ever had were coming down through Grants Pass. I was big truck, big RV trailer, and I came around a blind, big sweeping right, and just traffic was stopped. It was
wow.
it was hair on fire, but yeah, I love it. It's a beautiful drive up there. All right, well, welcome everybody. I'm going to go ahead and kick this off. Thank you so much for joining. I just want to say welcome to everybody who took the time to register. So glad you made the decision to participate in today's discussion. There's going to be a lot of good things to talk about. I'm Keone Courtney. I'm general manager for the wine vertical team here at Endsight. I spent about 16 years in the Napa Valley from 2006 all the way up to about 2022. I started my IT journey in healthcare. I transitioned to a company called Occidental Technical Group, which was an MSP, outsourced managed IT services. And then I eventually joined the Endsight family in 2017. I've been here ever since. We currently support about 400 plus, probably closer to 450 different businesses across the West Coast and beyond. And I can tell you, if there's one thing I've learned over the last couple of decades of doing IT, it's that we can't live without data. It's just essential. Data drives decisions. So I know from working with some of you who are on this call today, working at your wineries, working at your offices, that the road to profitability, it's not easy. It's not simple. There's a lot of complexity. The economy is often not on our side. So as we start to get into this today, when we identify those areas where we can improve and we can reduce waste, where we can drive efficiency, not only should we do these things, but we must do these things. We have to do these things so that we can survive and ideally even thrive. So as we start to unpack our discussion topic today, we've aptly titled it From Grape to Glass. We're going to be unpacking the realities of what all you as business owners and decision makers deal with every day. We're going to dig into winery reporting and business intelligence challenges. And I want to encourage you as we go through this, post your comments up, post your chats up in the live chat. We want to hear from you. We want to know what you're experiencing. We're going to have some time at the end of this to get into a live Q&A. So if you've got things that you want to queue up until then, that's fine too. But feel free to post them whenever. We'll compile them. And we're going to get in the Q&A, and we're going to try to answer as many questions as we can. But we want to hear from you. We want to understand your unique challenges. Now, with that said, I've got a simple question I want to throw out to everybody on this call, and I want you to just kind of pin it up in the back of your mind and store it away for a little bit later. And that is your data working for you, or are you working for your data? I think it's an important question that we need to ask ourselves. So as we dig into this, I needed to phone a couple of friends, and I've got them on the call right now. I've got two industry-leading experts with us that are going to help us unpack this. And so as we get into this, I want you to join me. Say a big hello and a welcome. I've got two of the reasons why I love working here at Endsight. So I want to introduce you to a couple of my friends and colleagues. Michelle Brzezinski, first off. Michelle, good to see you today.
You too.
We've known each other. Oh, absolutely.
For the intro.
Absolutely. I got to know you in 2017 when I joined the Endsight team, and it's been great getting to know you. Michelle manages our development team here at Endsight. She lives and breathes data. And in addition to that, I consider Michelle to be a real superhero. She's got a superpower, and that superpower is the ability to use dark magic and take data and manipulate it and present it in a way that's useful and helps us make decisions. So I'm really thankful for what Michelle brings to the table. I might have a story later on that'll exemplify some of the stuff she's done for me. In addition to that, I've got David Smith on the call today. David, how you doing?
Doing well, thank you.
Awesome. I met David back in 2014 as the company that I was previously with was supporting David and his staff as he was CFO over at Maryville and Starmont. David currently operates as a fractional CFO for several wineries. He's got over 20 years of experience in the wine industry, a wealth of experience in all aspects of winery operations. He's been an invaluable resource to us here at Endsight, helping us, advising us. So David, welcome to the conversation.
Great to be here. Thank you.
Absolutely. So for those of you on the call, we threw out some a challenge questionnaire as you registered. We wanted to know what you're seeing in your environments. So we encourage you as we go along with this conversation, as we unpack this webinar, share with us what you're experiencing in your wineries. What are the challenges that you're facing? Now, we compiled some of the information that came back, so I want to thank you for those who posted up information and sent us your info. Here's just a few of the highlights that came in. I'm going to read through these, and as I go through them, if any of these resonate with you, if you're like, yeah, that's me, that's my situation, that's my winery, that's my business, go ahead and drop those numbers in the chat. Let us know what you're seeing. We're seeing things such as data silos across multiple systems. This data it's hiding out. We're spending a whole lot of time manually cleaning up and reconciling data. So that's the second thing we're seeing. Our systems don't communicate, so they're not talking to each other, making it hard to track key metrics. We've got issues with integrating financial data across sales and operations. So there's a disparity there, and I think we can all relate to this number 5. It feels like we're running too much of the winery on Excel. I know I have literally hundreds of Excel spreadsheets, and while they're useful, they're probably weren't my first choice. David, as we let some more of these unpack, I'm seeing wow. I'm seeing some people say 1, 2, 3, and 5 are resonating with me. Let's just go ahead and pick one of those, and I think I'm going to pick number 5 because that personally resonates with me. What is the big deal with Excel, and why are we so dependent on it?
So great question. We can't live without Excel. We need Excel. The problem is that, and I can empathize with all 5 of these over the last 20 years in every situation I've been in, and not only in the wine business, but across all industries. We have to rely on Excel, especially when we have data coming from different systems. So we can't live with it, but we want to attempt to minimize it and minimize the data integration issues we have and the data pulling we have. So
that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
There are other things, and I know we haven't unpacked every possible scenario out there, but feel free, if you're in the chat and there's something that we haven't unpacked, go ahead and let us know. You can just rattle off whatever you're experiencing in real time, and we're gonna do our best to get to some of this stuff in as real time as we can. Some of it we might queue up for the Q&A, but just keep these thoughts flowing, keep your ideas coming out. David, I want to transition over and just ask you a little bit about yourself. You've seen so much in your career. Where do you see the future of the wine industry right now? And just, I know we're going through a little bit of a downturn, but is there anything to consider as we start to unpack this data conversation?
So there's a lot to unpack, but so as I mentioned, I can empathize with each one of those bullet points. I've lived and breathed it. I'm living and breathing it right now. I have people on this call that I work with that are living and breathing it. I think the business obviously is going through not the business, but the industry is going through some challenges, which make it even more important and critical to know your business and know your data, right? So
Agreed.
It's even becoming more, and especially as the wine industry has matured from maybe family owned to private equity owned, the reliance on data and basically a tech-enabled winery is becoming more and more important day in and day out.
I agree. And I know from my time in Napa Valley that the wine industry is complex. There's a lot to it. We're dealing with everything from making wine to we're selling alcohol, so there's regulations around that. But in my time, I've seen that there are numerous applications. I've got in and troubleshot, installed, and helped people maintain just about every piece of software out there over my 20-year career. You've put together some information for us that we're going to transition to in just a sec. It's a dynamite slide that really paints a picture about what the typical winery goes through, what are the tools they use. And so I'm really excited to share that. I'm going to go ahead and transition over to that. And I'm really looking forward to you unpacking that and taking us through it.
Sure. So first thing, the title, Grape to Glass Challenge. When I think operationally of the business, I think maybe those two bookends we could even extend. The first bookend, really what happens in the vineyard. And from a fallow piece of ground, we are going to grow grapes all the way through to what I refer to as dirt to cash. The cash side being ultimately running the batches and running the credit card batches or selling to the customer to the distribution channel. So I think dirt to cash end to end. And I think of that journey, and I think of not only is the wine going through that journey, but the data to back up everything we need to know about our business. Some mandatory, as you said, highly regulated industry. We need to be able to follow that data on what I'm calling the wine journey or the data journey. And for some of us out there, I don't know exactly who's on the call, but some of the premium brands we brought in, we grew the grape 8 years ago, and it's now made its way through the life cycle and now about to convert to cash or sell that wine.
That's a multi-year journey.
That is a long time, and that is a lot of data. And keep in mind, that's happening exponentially every year as we add vintages to our data. So as we kind of make our way through the different aspects or this wine journey from vineyard development to harvesting those grapes, bringing them into the cellar door, and then converting those grapes to wine, all highly regulated, once again, can live in multiple systems. What we've attempted to do here is depict all the different various systems that we believe the wine industry uses. So obviously there's duplication here. VinTrace is the same as Innovent. We don't want to leave anybody any simple application out, but this is a very busy list. So once we go from convert grapes to wine, we then have to blend the wine. The wine for reds may live in the cellar up to 36 months, maybe even longer, depending on the premium level. And then we get to, we have to then bottle the wine out, all happening in different systems. Sometimes in one system, but not often. Happening in different systems and data having to go and make its way between these different systems. We then inventory the wine and then we sell the wines. In between all this, and what we tried to do on the two ends of this is we have to operate the business. We got payroll systems, we got accounts payable systems, we got purchase order. As you can see, a very voluminous number of systems where data lives. And then ultimately we sell the wine. go through some either point of sale system, through ship compliant, or one of the wine directs or e-sellers, one of those point of sale systems. So
well, this is amazing,
long
David.
journey.
I'm seeing 13, maybe 15. I mean, individual applications. There's a lot on this page. There's a whole lot here. With the complexity of the wine industry and this reality that what I know about these applications is that they each do their respective job really well. They were what you call best
in breed
applications. Best in breed. So we have these best in breed applications that we don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. These things are doing what they're designed to do, and they're doing it really well. What's the likelihood of ever seeing a turnkey single application that does all this stuff as well as these do?
Great question. As you mentioned, very fragmented. However, each one of these best in breed applications are useful. We need it. We need each one of these. Some are better than others, but simply do things that we do not have in one application. And I do not believe in my career we will see it in one application. Now, I've been promised it a few times. I believe there's one player in the industry that's working towards it and may hit it, but I don't think that's going to happen anytime in the near future. I think we are left with these best in breed applications doing their singular functions.
So we have these applications. I don't want to get rid of them. I want to use them. Ultimately, I'd like them to be able to play ball together. But with what we've got here, with this stack of applications, we've got some disparity. I want you to walk us through this next slide, because from a CFO perspective, we've got some real challenges to solve.
Not only, yes, absolutely from a CFO perspective, but also from all areas of the business. We have all these disparate systems that we attempted to list there. We have to extract data and report on that data. We have fragmented data. We have some data coming from one system being combined with another system. We end up having issues around reconciliations between the systems, the data not matching in systems, and not to mention that becomes a very manual process. We have many people, many employees pulling data from multiple systems and having to do it over and over. Lastly, something that is, I think, of the most importance is the last bullet point, poor decision-making. We don't always have the data, or maybe not the right data or the right facts to make decisions. We spoke about earlier about what's going on in the industry. Now is even a more important time to be able to have the right data and be confident that you're making decisions based off the facts of the business.
And I can speak to this from my role here at Endsight. Part of what I do is I approve the timesheets and the payroll for my employees that work for me. But I've got a second duty in that the time that my employees log on their timesheet, often that's generating a bill for one of our clients. Most of the people that I manage, their time is billable in one way, shape, or form. So the data that I'm looking at, I need to make decisions on that, whether what we're doing is indeed a valuable billable thing that should move through to invoicing. And once upon a time, it was this horrible, laborious task, and we've solved a lot of that by using some of the tools we're going to talk about in a little bit here. So I'm encouraged for our winery friends on the call today that some of the challenges they're experiencing, we've been through it, we understand, and I think we can help. Now, these issues are real. These aren't just made up issues. They creep into just about everything that we do. They cause hindrances. In some cases, they're showstoppers, but in all cases, they're affecting our ability to make good decisions. Fortunately, we've got Michelle on the call. Michelle, I'm so glad you're here. Michelle is going to help us understand these problems, and with her being the driving force here at Endsight, helping us to gain control of our data issues, she's the perfect one to talk to some of the solutions that we want to unpack. Michelle, this problem seems overwhelming. What can we do about it?
Thanks, Keone. It actually, with the number of systems we've got going on in wineries, and actually looking at it in that grid really makes it kind of obvious. But what do we do about the solutions? We try to make data talk to each other. So if we're talking about being able to see across an entire organization or across an entire value stream or multiple value streams within an organization, what we're talking about is visibility and reporting. So I'm going to take you through a little story through a couple of the slides that I'm going to talk about. We're going to kind of build on concepts here. And so the first one that I want to talk about here is Power BI. So what is Power BI? Power BI is Microsoft's answer to the inability to see across all of your data sources. It's agnostic, so it's not really tied to one system or another. We're not talking canned reports out of a particular system that only can talk to that system or gather its data from it. Microsoft has invested lots of time and money and people effort in building what is called connectors. These connectors are coded pieces of data that basically interface with disparate data sources, and they have hundreds of them out there, and they're mostly pre-built for some of the more widely used data sources, your big Sages and your Salesforces and those kinds of things. So here in development, what we end up doing a lot of times, because we have some of the smaller business packages as well that don't already have a custom built-in connector for Power BI, we've learned how to build our own connectors. So most software out there these days, those disparate data silos, they all come with their own API, application programming interface. And really what that is the availability to tap into that data via code and through the web, authenticate to that data. So we're doing so securely, and pull the data out into another source. Well, we pull it down into Power BI. Add a bunch of connectors into a Power BI report that are connecting to multiple pieces of data, and what you end up with is a big bucket of data that we use inside of Power Query. And that helps us transform that data and dig out common data points and key fields that we can relate one piece of data from one system to another on. And so now I'm starting to build this little map of, I've got data from each one of my systems and it's related, so I can see an order that goes all the way through the system, or I won't tell you I can see a grape all the way to the bottle, but we can give it a good shot. So once we transform the data and we get all the data related, and we've got our matches and we've got visibility across it, we can build some aggregated metrics and some custom columns and custom metrics that are really specific to the business need. So a quick aside, we use ConnectWise here at Endsight, and we've had it for a very long time. And I won't tell you we use it in the standard method, right? We've had it for years. And through different phases of our business, we've decided to co-opt a different piece of ConnectWise to do a thing for us that isn't standard usage of it. So what do? We need to pull that out, and we need to aggregate some of those numbers in a non-standard way. We know about that. ConnectWise doesn't necessarily know about that, so I can't have them build it for me. So this ability to do aggregations and measures and calculated columns that are customized down to the way your business uses that software is super important with some of this. So we get all this stuff in the back end. All of this feeds into visualizations. And these are your charts and your graphs and your tables and your fun models and pictures and colors and all that other stuff. And that builds interactive dashboards and reports. And when I say interactive, I mean interactive. We've got the availability to schedule data refreshes on demand. So as soon as you pull up the report, it's going out and it's questing for new data and pulling that back. Or we can schedule the refresh if we can't do real time. A single report can serve a lot of different users. We don't have to have multiple versions of the same report anymore. We use slicers and filters that users are able to assign themselves inside of the report. And the next time they come in and log in and look at that, it's going to hold those filters for them, so they always get that same view. All of this helps to bring these business insights and data right down to the user level, where they really need to see it. And one of the biggest improvements we get out of this is that once you can see across the whole value stream, across the whole organization, you're able to surface some of these issues before they become bigger problems. And that drives inefficiency, or that drives efficiencies. It gets rid of inefficiencies and improvements.
Absolutely. Michelle, I can attest to this. Our team is using Power BI solutions that you and your team have developed for us. And what it's done is it's put things like real-time employee metrics, and it's put the performance targets that used to be a mystery. It's putting them back into the hands of the employees to be self-serve. And I think that's been highly valuable. It's driven awareness in a way that probably no other single thing has. Now, I want to touch on something. A long time ago, I got started in the healthcare sector. I did IT in a big hospital where we had in excess of 25,000 employees. You can imagine it's a big organization. And the golden rule back then was quote unquote buy before build. The mindset was, don't go out and create custom in-house solutions. If at all possible, buy the out-of-the-box application from the big vendor and use it. And I think the reasoning was that we were worried about supportability, right? We were worried about this situation where this really great employee with a really great brain builds this really awesome spreadsheet and shoves, 1,000 lines of macro codes into it, and it does this cool thing. But the moment that employee leaves, you've got nobody to support it, and the thing breaks, and half of your process for a given task all of a sudden gets stuck or broken. So, talking about Power BI, is it different?
It's different.
Yeah.
I don't know how different though. So from an MSP perspective, certainly supportability is kind of key for us, right? But from the business perspective, I need to get a thing done, and why should I go reinvent the wheel or pay for an entire custom build from ground to ceiling when I can get about 80% of what I need to get out of a package that I can buy off the shelf? And so I guess I would add to that, if it exists, I would add to that comment of, it's not just buy versus build, but buy and expand, or buy and enhance, right? So buy your 80% of the functionality that you have, figure out your workarounds for that other 20%. And in the meantime, let's build some things that actually do that stuff for you, so that you take advantage of that already built software, and you've got the right balance between the two.
I agree. So as David talked about before, we've got best in breed applications that we're not going to throw them away. We're not going to get rid of them. We're not going to replace all those and write our own Excel spreadsheets. We're going to take that data and we're going to funnel it into and this BI aggregation tool, and we're going to be able to see it all in the same place, which is kind of sounds like the Holy Grail for me.
For visibility, yes.
Yep. Now, this gets me thinking about data and types of data that we've got locked away in our organizations. And I think, David, this is going to resonate with you. Once upon a time, maybe perhaps there were only a few people in the whole organization that really needed financial data, maybe the CFO and maybe some members of the accounting team. But David, I think you've seen the shift over the years, right? Where our frontline workforce needs access to financial data in greater and greater numbers. More and more of our organization have to have the tools that they need to make decisions. So this is bigger than just finance, isn't it?
Absolutely. As you stated, there was a point in time where financial data was not shared with the organization. The owners knew about it, the CFO and the accounting department knew about it. As the business, as the wine industry has evolved and matured, it's become more and more important to understand the economics of the business. We hear terms like EBIT, EBITDA, revenue recognition. We hear that up and down the organization now. And why is that? Because now financial responsibility or acumen is required at all levels of the organization. They're budgeting for it, they're planning for it, they're being compensated off of it, right? Which is a big driver. So that dissemination of information, or the ability to go pull that data from different sources, has become more and more prevalent, and only continues to grow, especially as we start to want to understand the different business drivers. How many visitors were there this weekend? How much did we sell? What is the average sale price per bottle? Whatever that metric may be, organizations are now focused on it and managing to it. So we're getting away from the silo approach, where it used to live one place, and now it's being disseminated across the organization.
That makes a lot of sense. I'm going to take just a moment here. I want to address the question that came in from this is from Allison, and she's asking about Power BI. And is this a service that we're offering, or is this coming in the future? And what I want to say is Power BI is here now. And it's actually been here. It's been here for quite a few years. And so Power BI is available yesterday. And Power BI gets built in a custom fashion. So our team, Michelle and her development team, what they do is they build a solution that's custom tailored for you to meet your reporting and dashboarding needs. And as
I want to add on to that just a little bit. So
yeah.
The desktop version, which is what I showed on the previous slide, the Microsoft Power BI, it's a Microsoft product, first of all. So anybody can go get it. And the desktop version is free. You can download it, you can play with it, you can connect it to Excel spreadsheets and all kinds of SharePoint documents, whatever, what have you. Where development comes in, or where Endsight can best partner with clients, is in two ways. One, if you don't have time to learn Power BI or how to get it connected to your data, we can help with that. Two, if you're adventurous and you want to go learn that and you start digging in and you get stuck on something, we can help with that too. We can answer questions about that. And third,
Absolutely.
for those pieces of data, those data silos that don't already have data connectors built for them by the Microsoft suite, we can help build those custom connectors to interface with data for you to pull that data down into your report and match it with other pieces.
Yeah. And to be clear, there is a lot of complexity with this. You can imagine data sources that are being accessed in a secure manner. You want that done right, and so there can be some really beneficial time spent with somebody on our team that do it the right way to make sure that your data is secure, you're not exposing it to the world, and that and that you're going to get the output that you want. So thanks, Alison. I really appreciate the question. That was a great one. David, as I refer back to this slide and looking at financial planning, analysis, reporting, it's definitely a bigger problem. I 100% agree. My people need more and more data to be able to make decisions. We've got a real need to really dig into this and make sure that it can happen effectively. But as I think about this, and I think about making more and more of the internal data sets that my company has available to more and more people, there's kind of this big red light going off in the back of my head, and that's the security side of it. And Michelle, I need to ask you, as we start to do this, as we start to pull data in and make it more visible, how do we keep it safe? How do we make sure that the right people have the right data?
Sure, it's a good question, and it's pretty much one of the top things on our list as far as who needs to know what. And so, especially as more and more financial data gets disseminated throughout the organization, we want to be careful about how we assign security permissions to that. So building on our earlier example, we've got a Power BI report. It lives in our desktop. What do we do with it? Well, we need to share it with other people, and they need to be able to see some of the data that's in it, but maybe not all of the data. Like, I don't need to see the same data that David does, and Keone needs to see more data than his people do. He needs to see it aggregated across his group, but his users need to see it at their level. So introducing the Power BI service. So we take our Power BI reports that we've built or connected to outside data sources, and we've got all of it managed and monitored in the back end, and we've got this nice little dashboard, and we publish it to the Power BI service. So again, another Microsoft tool. It sits in the 365 tenant. This allows us to collaborate, basically. So we can share a report under a single source of data, single report. We don't have multiple copies of reports running around there anymore. We can target these reports to users across the organization, giving them key data and making it available where it's needed. So we do this by collaborating in the Power BI service, using a single reporting repository. So we're building this repository, this thing, and we're shoving reports in it, and we've got financial reports, and we have inventory reports, and we have product reports, and we have customer reports, all manner of things sorted up into this single source of repository. The nice thing about Power BI service, though, is that we're able to take different spaces inside the service and assign security to it. So we can take the security groups that most people are already using within their 365 organization today and tell Power BI who can see what data. This can be at the report level. It can be at the report page level, individual pages within a report. We can get all the way down into row and column level inside of the backend data and be able to say, for instance, I can see my time, but I can't see my boss's time, or I can see my cost, but I can't see my boss's cost. Consequently, I can see all of my employees' cost. They can only see their own, or their metrics, or their hours, whatever it is that I want to measure them toward. So the Power BI service, combined with row-level security and row-level security, allows us to continue to use that one report source without multiple versions of it, dialed into the users as at their level, where they are, where they work, and how they work. And this is all done just within some of the tools you have today.
That's awesome. So what I'm hearing is if our clients are using the Microsoft Office suite currently, they're already in the space where they need to be. Their staff is there, their people are there. They have what you would call like a Rolodex of all their people is already in there.
Sure.
So we have the framework to build this out, and we don't have to duplicate things.
Right.
Yeah. That's amazing. So this is great. So not only do we have the ability to present our data in a way that works for our workflows and our departments, but we have an effective way to govern that data. I know governance is a hot topic right now. It's probably one of the most widely discussed emerging spaces in the IT world that we're spending time and money on is governance and security. David, I feel like we've got a few more items to unpack on this problem register, and I'm thinking about things like siloed data. I'm thinking about all the problems we talked about in these old ways of doing things. In lean philosophy, we're practicing lean here at Endsight, trying to cut out that muda or that waste. Can you speak from a CFO perspective? If we're doing things in these inefficient, quote unquote, old ways, there's a real cost to consider, isn't there?
Absolutely. So when I think of this slide and the question, I think how much time is the organization spending on the collection of data when that time and effort could be used elsewhere? And how many people do we have dedicated? What is the cost of those people dedicated to collecting the data and disseminating that data when a system could do it for you? So, and depending on which business I look at or over the years, it's a different cost every time, right? It's a different structure. However, it's not scalable. You can't continue to hire people. Ultimately, you need to get, as one of you said early on in the call, the system to work for itself. And not only is it time delayed, but it's just simply inefficient. And it's costly in nature, especially when you contemplate the work they could be doing and they should be doing that may be closer to the customer.
Well, now we're getting into some real nitty gritty. We're talking about employee efficiency and cost. And Michelle, this is a little bit of bad news. David just dropped on us. So thank you, David. We're realizing that some of the ways we're doing things are actually costing us quite a bit of money. If the legacy processes are costing us a lot, Michelle, what can we do to address some of this stuff? We're talking about inefficiencies and error-prone processes.
Well, we dig into the reason for those error-prone processes, right? So earlier we were talking about visibility across the organization, and now not only do I need visibility, but I also need data to show up in different places. It's nice to be able to see it, but I also need to maybe take action on it, or I need to incorporate it into another process. So we've got reports that are reporting, we've got data visible, and we've got users collaborating. We've got our single source of truth in our data repository with our reporting. So we face a problem of users who need to access or act on disparate data in the system that they're working in, rather than stopping from that system and pulling open another web page, or getting up and walking over to another department to get their latest numbers, or waiting.
Every time they do that, that's a wait state, right?
It's a wait state, right?
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about with waste and muda. And so if we can deliver that information into the system that people work in on a regular basis, or most often, side by side with what they're already working in, we streamline their process and they're able to get through their tasks quicker. And get to other tasks that are just as important and also need to be done. So we do this with a process called ETL. So this kind of builds a little bit on the connector idea we were talking about with Power BI. So ETL works very similarly. It works with data connections in the background. And so we go out to a data source, we pull the data we need out of it. We do this thing called transform, and it's very much like we were talking about with Power Query. We're going to model the data, we're going to crunch it down, we're going to aggregate it in certain ways, we're going to find the commonalities with other pieces of data that it's going to relate to in other systems, fashion those keys up. That's what transform is. Then we're going to take that data and we're going to load it somewhere. Where can we load it? We can load it in a lot of different places. We can push it into other disparate systems. So now I've got, say, purchase order information right next to my invoicing system, so I can get those purchase orders handled right away. We can also push that data into a data warehouse. So earlier we talked about connectors going directly out to the data source to connect to reporting. Data warehouses store all of that data side by side from different disparate sources, aggregated and crunched up and metriced the way that it needs to be, and we can connect our reporting directly to that as well. All of this kind of builds towards this common data repository. And what this allows to do is move data from one system to another without lengthy downloads or column modifications or manual lookups or matching records. These are repetitive and draining tasks, and we can teach the system how to do this for us. This frees up your employees to do more with their time. It's going to reduce the incidence of kind of expensive errors when those errors get found. It's going to speed up the delivery of information. I'm not going to have to wait to get my numbers anymore to be able to make my decision or move on with my process.
So this is this idea of like real-time data. We're not waiting for somebody to go do something so I can get my data. This data is on demand, and it's not dependent on a human.
I will say near time.
Yeah.
Right. And that's kind of a balance. There's some systems we can get real-time information out of, and there's some they're rate limited or whatever. And so we have to schedule refreshes on those, but near time, certainly. And correct. If I can pull the data out of a system the way it was entered there and show it up in another system without the manual intervention in between, then I've got a representation of what's going on over there and I can trust it.
And so that speaks to accuracy, which is a huge thing that we're talking about. Now, you had said something that struck a thought, and it's going to lead into our next slide. And this is really encouraging. I'm starting to see light at the end of the tunnel, that we've got a mechanism that we can build what we need. I want to toss another question back to David real quick. And there's this other bucket of stuff, and it really has to do with repetition. There are things that I know our employees are doing that are these repetitive tasks that I would love to solve that. I mean, there are things that I don't want my team doing if they don't have to. These are things that if I could find some sort of automation to do it, I would rather have my people, my really awesome, empathetic, talented people, to have more time to connect with other people rather than doing this other stuff. So we got a slide coming up that kind of outlines this reality, and there is a time cost associated, David. And I think from a CFO perspective, I'd like to get into that with you and unpack that time cost and see what it's really representing.
As we discussed before, we want to be as lean as possible. You can only imagine, with all these disparate systems, and I'll give a few examples in a moment, how much work is being done in one system, and then that same employee has to go, or maybe a different employee has to go and then get the data processed or recorded in a disparate, different system. AP is a perfect example. AP may be in a system that isn't connected to our ERP system for workflow purposes. I buy something, Keone has to approve it. For instance, a business where I'm in right now, they do the AP all in one system. They download it every day, and then they go and put it into our ERP system. And that is happening across the winery, across wineries, I should say, not just here. Another one is taking inputs from our grape intake system. The juice came in, the juice has been processed, and then you got to bottle it out and getting it into your general ledger. Two disparate systems. And then finally, purchase orders. Depending on where you're issuing a purchase order, if you're buying barrels in one system, you have to then get it into your fixed asset subledger or into your general ledger also. So all these repetitive tasks going on month to close the books and to properly record your financial statements and report. So, and I could go on and on about the different, those tasks that are occurring month over month from these disparate systems, and the need for a solution or to automate many of these tasks.
Yeah, I can see that. And in any case, in pretty much all of these cases, these are humans, these are people that we could find much better use of their time.
Precisely.
Now, Michelle, I'm gonna turn back to you. This list that David just went over, manual approvals and taking data. There's people taking data from one system and manually transferring it to the other. What kind of automation is possible? What kind of intelligence can we build into this to help us solve some of these problems?
Well, pretty much anything that you can define a rule around can be automated. So if we go back to our vision of ETL, where we've got data moving from systems from one to another, now we've got data reporting in for duty, and we've got, repositories built, and we've got all of our stuff in one place. We can start to teach the system how to utilize it in other ways, and that's by identifying and automating business process. So data transfer is not the only task that a lot of organizations are doing manually. David, you brought up a few examples. I want to key in on the approval one, though, because the approval one isn't necessarily about data moving around. That's an action that needs to be taken based on an event that happened, right? So if I have an event that happens and I can teach my system how to listen for that event, I can take that action as long as it happens the same way every time. I can take that action for my users, and my users can go do other things that they need to get done that day as well. Right. Or when the approval comes back, that's when, you know, it needs the ball needs to get kicked off and we need to get things processing on it. So automation is a great idea for any kind of repetitive business process where you can define a hard and fast rule that always happens. And we use our data to pick these out or to listen for it. And then we define what actions it can take on our behalf. And we get some of this stuff happening in the background faster with less errors. We get, oh, I lost my note. We get scalability, and that's really the key here. So I brought up this example when we were discussing some things earlier. So a while back, we grew like exponentially overnight. We grew from somewhere like 150 companies to like 400 companies in almost overnight, it felt like. And some of the manual processes that we're doing when we grow like that exponentially get harder and longer to do. Well, that's not true with automation. So the more we can nail into automation or have some of these things happening for us automatically, when we scale or we need to grow, those processes just grow with it and they automatically kind of consume those different things. And then, you know, the benefits that you get out of this is we get efficiency, we get effectiveness, we get less errors, we get organizational growth accommodated and scalability. And for me, a big key thing is we often get more or higher employee satisfaction. So users who are able to get to more tasks that they feel are important and are aligned with organizational goals, they feel like they've accomplished things for the day. And so you get higher employee satisfaction when they can get to the things they need to get done.
Allowing people to get back to what they consider to be valuable definitely has a benefit. And I can see it in our organization as well. I love the sound of this. Michelle, you're speaking to me, and I've got a whole laundry list of items that I'm going to ask you to help me with right when we get off this call.
I gotta wash my hair.
I'm kidding. I'm gonna schedule an appointment. Folks, this has been a really fantastic conversation. It's been eye-opening to get through this. We've got real issues. There's a lot brewing in our organizations that we need to tackle. But the encouraging thing is that we can create real solutions using the Power BI platform. We can pull data, we can model data, we can present data, we can make data less manual than it is right now. We can reduce some of the error prone processes that we do. And all of that will enable our businesses to scale in darn near real time. Our data can be made accessible 24/7. So we're not dependent on a person that has to go do a task. We can let the system work for us. So we know that data drives decision making. So let's make our data work for us and not the other way around. Michelle and David, this has been such a great topic to dig into. You've brought a lot of clarity fueled by decades upon decades of experience into these common issues that we're all facing. What a great conversation. I'm so thankful for each of your willingness to participate and be on here with me today.
Thank you for having us here. I've enjoyed this one. I could talk about this stuff all day.
Absolutely. Thank you, David, as well.
Thank you.
The next slide, and I want to talk about the journey. If you're an Endsight client and you want to start engaging in this, if these situations, if these examples that we've touched on today, if they resonate with you, if you're saying to yourself, that's me, that's exactly what I'm into. You know, I'm in the middle of this, insert expletive here, so to speak, every day, and I'm tired of it. And you're ready to explore some real scalable, supportable, intelligent ideas and solutions. Go ahead and drop us a yes in the survey. Just let us know. Leave us a comment in the chat if you want. If you're a current Endsight client, all you have to do is reach out to your TAM, your technical account manager. They're ready to set up a meeting with Michelle and David to start prioritizing your data needs. If you're not an Endsight client and you'd like to be, and you'd like to engage in some of the things we talked about today, all you need to do is reach out to the person that invited you today. You can always visit endsight.net. You can go to our website and look up our contact info. Or if you want to, a third option is just call 1-800-ENDSIGHT and we'll be happy to start a conversation. Either way, once we engage with you, the journey starts with discovery. We're going to go through a discovery process. We're going to work on documentation. We'll transition into alignment. We're going to factor in the geography of all of your systems. You might have offices and your facilities might be in different geographical locations. I know I have winery clients that are based in St. Helena, but they've got a production facility in Amador. Perfect case, right? A lot of geographical space in between. We'll take that into consideration. We'll consider your current state, the cartography of your current business environment. And then we'll work on designing and building a custom solution that works for you, that works for your people, works for your workflow, and ultimately works for your mission, what you're trying to accomplish. So as we promised, we've got a few minutes dedicated to our Q&A. I don't know if anybody has any questions, but David and Michelle are available. If you got anything you want to ask, go ahead and drop it in the chat. We'll transition over to that. And if there is nothing from the audience, I've got a question for Michelle and David myself, and we'll transition over to that. But we'll give the audience just a minute. All sorts of things rattling around in my mind right now. If I've worked with lots of winery owners, and I've seen the environments, and what I would imagine most of my winery friends would say to me is, I'm not a data guru. I don't even know where my data is. It's like there's stuff that's just buried away, right? I've been running this winery for 20 years. I've got spreadsheets. I've got data siloed in these places. I'm not a data wizard or a magician. Like, what do I do? Where do I start this process?
It starts with review and identification of what you have, what it needs to do for you, where the data needs to go. It starts with defining what are your organizational metrics instead of what are each individual department. Well, basically, instead of what each individual department thinks the metric is. We ran into that a couple of years ago. We had less access to data, and people would figure out ways to get it. And often the ways that they get that, or they aggregate that data, isn't really the way that it needs to be done. And so you walk into a meeting with only half of the story, or worse, with your CFO looking at you like, where did you get that number from?
Yeah.
So
stale data.
Stale data it's a problem. It happens with multiple disparate Excel spreadsheets, right? Everybody's got a copy of the same Excel file, and one looks a little bit different than the other one, and that one little thing can throw a lot off. So it begins with analysis. It begins, like you said, with discovery, with figuring out what's most important to you, looking for, your top 5 pain items, and let's just get those addressed. If that's disparate data, then let's get some data connected and get some reporting going. If it's getting data from one system into the other, then we're into repository or data warehouse or data lakes. Either way, even if it's just low-hanging fruit with getting your vacation requests transferred around to the right approval people so they can get turned in on time, all of those things move towards getting you more time back, allowing you to do more with the same amount of people that you have now, and hopefully making them a little bit happier for the things they get to do.
That makes a lot of sense. So it sounds like really the beginning of the journey is sitting down and setting some goals and trying to develop a priorities list. That's really where it starts. Thank you both so much. I'm going to touch on a few things coming up. We've got some things coming up for the winter that I want to make you all aware of. We have the Wine Industry Financial Symposium is coming up on November 12th. We're gonna be there. I'm flying in from Tennessee. I'm gonna be in Napa for that week. So if you're registered, I'm really excited to see you there. If you haven't, you can go ahead and hit that link that's in the slide right here. It's a long one, but it's the eventscloud.com registration page. You can always visit winebusinessfinancial.com. They've got a link to the registration information right there. Or you can always send an email out to bgalvin@endsight.net. He's on our sales team. He'd be happy to walk you through the registration process. I think there's going to be some great information there. It's going to be a good time. In addition to that, we've got 3 events coming up for the winter that Endsight's going to host. If you didn't know, this is the time to know. It's Cybersecurity Awareness Month. So we have a few things coming up. We've got our cybersecurity fundamentals webinar that's coming up. Fundamentals training is a training that actually qualifies for continuing education credits. So if you join that, you can get a continuing education credit from the California State Bar. It's an excellent training program. Users come twice a year. This will educate you on modern security threats, how to stay safe, both at home and at work. You can go ahead and scan the QR code right there if you want to register for that. You can always send an email to akrebs@endsight.net, and in our form, you can answer yes in the form if you want some more information. In addition to that, we've got our security office hours. Our office hours is a quarterly webinar. It's a risk-based discussion that's for stakeholders in our organizations. We talk every quarter about the events that have happened. So think about CrowdStrike and some of the stuff that happened last quarter, where the threat actors are putting their money and their efforts. We're also going to talk about the evolution of attacks and some selected topics. Stephen Hicks, our security practitioner, will be leading this one as well as the other ones, and he's going to demonstrate some really important security technology, and usually has just some fantastic information to share. So this next one that's coming up is going to be all about how to protect yourself from phishing attacks. So I think there's going to be some great information there. And then lastly, this is a big one. Some of you have already been engaging with your TAMs and technical account managers on PCI compliance. PCI compliance is coming hot and heavy. It's fast approaching. Mandates are coming for this. So if you want to get some relevant current industry information on PCI compliance, this is a webinar for wineries, but it really applies to any company that processes credit cards. We're going to discuss the difference between just simply running a $50 scan and actually being secure. There's a big difference, as well as what it takes to maintain both PCI compliance from an auditing perspective, as well as genuine actual safety for your organization. It's a lot deeper than people think. So in any case, if you'd like some more information on this, you'd like to register, go ahead and send an email off to akrebs@endsight.net. He'll go ahead and get you all the information. On behalf of all of us here at Endsight, Michelle and David, I'm so thankful for your time today. It's been an amazing discussion. I appreciate you both more than I can say. You've been a wealth of information today. I want to send out a special thanks to our extremely talented marketing team, Aaron Krebs. I want to thank Abby Barzy, Jason Kloss. This webinar wouldn't have been possible without the three of you and all of your coaching and your expertise. To everyone in attendance, thank you. On behalf of everyone here at Endsight, I trust that you found this information valuable, and we really appreciate your time. Take care, happy holidays, and we will see you on the next one.
Bye, everyone. Thanks.
Thank you.